Thank you for coming to our first Solid Edge short, which is going to be a series on Solid Edge tips and tricks, new enhancements, all things Solid Edge. We're going to hold a session once a month, so look out for the advertisements, look at them out there, make sure you guys attend. I think it's an opportunity to really learn and increase the usability of Solid Edge. So today's session, Dylan will be talking about surfacing in Solid Edge ST6. Before that, I wanted to just introduce Swoosh to you if you're not all familiar. My name is Candace Sproul, and I am the marketing specialist here at Swoosh Technologies. We are a full solutions provider, meaning that we sell the software, we support it, and we also train it. And I want to just give a little note on CAM Works for Solid Edge. It is the first CAM solution that is actually integrated into Solid Edge. So if anyone is interested in that, it really is a great product. We have an upcoming webinar next week on the 19th at 10 a.m. You can follow this link below or find the link on our website and go ahead and register. It'll be also Dylan presenting the CAM Works portion of that as well. And just a note about the offering we do provide for Solid Edge training. We do offer it in classroom on your client side if you have a lot of students that need to attend. And one of our newest additions is providing online training. You can go ahead and you can go on our website and look at our course listings and sign up for any course and have the ability to do it at your desk at home instead of coming in and spending extra money on travel fees. So it's a great option, and it's really something to look into. And then also I have a list there of the multiple Solid Edge courses we do provide, from fundamentals to rendering, surfacing. It's all there. So go ahead on our website, check out the latest schedule, and learn more. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Dylan, and he's going to walk you through a demo of the new surfacing features in ST6.
All right. Thank you, folks. As Candace said, we're going to talk about some of the Solid Edge surfacing, what's new in ST6, but not necessarily just what's new. Some of the old functionality that rarely gets used, I thought we'd take a look at as well. Things like wrapping sketches or the difference between projecting a sketch onto a surface. All right, so first thing we're going to do is go ahead and get a Solid Edge part environment up here. Let's go with a English template here today. All right, so again, we're working with ST6, which allows us the ability to have two environments to work in. We can work in the synchronous environment, which is what I'm starting in, and of course I can always switch over to the ordered environment. All right, I'm going to go ahead and create a couple things here in the synchronous environment. Quickly, I can go in here and actually create some reference planes off in the space just by using the steering wheel. It's easy to move these reference planes around. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and create a sketch on this reference plane off in the space. I'm actually going to create a curve in this situation. So I'm just going to use the reference plane here and just create some little simple shape. There we go. All right, so that's really all I can do with the synchronous. Of course, I could always throw some dimensions on here if I really want to start positioning this, but usually with surfaces and curves like that, you kind of want to let them free flow just for the meantime, just to kind of get the shape you want. Then you can kind of go in there and do the final design. You change the dimensions to match what you exactly need. All right, so to get what I need, I'm actually going to take this into an ordered environment. I'm going to go ahead and create a couple different shapes and sweep through space. All right, so what I'm going to do is quickly switch over to transition to ordered. The reason I do this is the sketches are controlled differently in the synchronous style as they are in the ordered environment. So I'm going to go ahead and mirror that sketch over so I'm copying and mirroring a sketch from the synchronous to the ordered environment. All right, so what that allows me to do is manipulate this guy and in the synchronous with the style of synchronous, and it's going to change the ordered style. All right, so let me create one more feature in here. Let me go create a cross curve. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a curve in space. This is a really nice tool to be able to create 3D curves. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a plane here. All right, so connecting curves in space in 3D. It's easier to do if you just take it and kind of rotate these in space. So now I can actually see both endpoints that I want to hit. Of course, I get immediate feedback whether it's from the synchronous or ordered sketch. So let me go ahead and quickly throw this out here. This is just an arc, so I'll go ahead and create a radius on this one. And since this is going to be a cross curve, of course we need two sketches to create this location. So I'm going to go ahead and create another reference plane, or sketch, excuse me, in this orientation. So this one, actually, do the same thing to make sure I get the end here and here. And let's give it a little shape. That'll work. I'll just leave that one free so we can rotate it. All right, so now I have two sketches here. So basically, to create a cross curve in space is basically grabbing both of those geometries and telling it where they're going to meet. All right, so I'm going to say, you know what? I want to see where this guy and this other sketch would meet in space. So there's my third control point. So now I get a 3D curve. All right. What's kind of nice about this is, of course, this one I left free. So if I dynamically edit that, so dynamic ability is the fact that you can leave the other sketches there in space. So as you drag this one, you'll be able to see the change in magnitude of that guy. All right. So now that I have that, I can go ahead and do some another sketch. I'm going to go ahead and quickly do a bottom sketch just to control this. So again, I connect that bottom one at a point that was normal to my reference plane. So I'll just use that point in space. And I'll just quickly create that guy. I'm going to go ahead and leave that disconnected just to show you. That's what happens when you don't actually connect in space sometimes. So just to alleviate that, we actually have a command in here called blue dots. All right, so I'm going to come under servicing and look for my blue dots. All right, so what this allows me to do is it's what they call a semi-destructive function. I'm going to take that corner and move it over to that corner. Oops. Try that again. Okay, hang on. I might have over-constrained this guy here. So it looks like I have actually, because I did connect it to geometry there. All right, now let's give this guy a shot here. All right, well, I can always go back into the profile any given time and reconnect that. So I'm not exactly sure why it's not letting me want to snap over to that. But you can see I can just go right back into the profile and reconnect those at the correct location. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and create a blue surf now. Now they have the curves. I have a 3D curve in space, and of course I have a flat curve, and of course I have a mirrored sketch of the synchronous geometry. So I'm going to go here and create a blue surf now. A couple different ways. I can go either from this curve to this curve, or actually from this curve to this curve. So in this situation, I'm going to go ahead and let these guys be the guide curves. So I'm going to go say I want this curve to go ahead and match this curve. And let's go ahead in this situation again. I want to tell it to use that as a guide curve. And of course, I'm going to take the mirrored one and use that as well. And you see these things kind of floating up in the space. Right, these are my tangency control. And if you notice that they give you some options here. So basically, actually, just a single option on this one has to be a natural condition. All right, so at certain times under blue surf, you will get individual types of control points. So whether it's natural or normal to section, parallel to section. Some other things that a lot of people don't really look at is the vertex mapping. All right, so if you can see, we actually have some points in space. If this was a square to a triangle, of course, sometimes the vertex don't map correctly. And I'll go ahead and quickly show you that on the next selection here as soon as I create it. All right, so that looks good right there. All right, again, the reason I created this sketch up in the synchronous is the fact now that I can come into it and you can see I get the little steering wheel on it. Well, that allows me to, to either rotate it and or twist it in space, or I can actually now just grab the curve in space and start manipulating it quite easily. There we go. And again, if I grab it from the profile there, I get the steering wheel on it, which allows you to take it and push it and pull it. And since I did this in synchronous, and of course I did it in ordered as well, the other curves and sketches should automatically relate to it. So I'm going to go ahead and let's try taking this and moving this in another orientation. And let's try rotating it. Oh, as you can see, some of the sketches disconnected. That's, well, the way I probably created them. I didn't actually connect those top sketches to maintain there. So my 3D curve is kind of falling off, but you can see as I drag this around, the bottom sketches and everything else kind of relocate to it. All right, so that is some of the functionality that you would get by doing both in one environment. All right. I also mentioned at the beginning of the little tutorial here, or demo, I was going to create some wrap and some projected sketch. So I'm going to go ahead and let me create some geometry so I can do that with. I'm going to go ahead and do this in the ordered environment. So I want my sketches to be maintained. All right, so there is no loft command. There is a loft command inside of surfacing, but you would actually have to load it. That's where the actual blue surf again takes precedence over the other function. So I'm going to go ahead and create a blue surf between this to get the cone shape that I need. And then I'm going to put some text on the outside of it. I'm just going to go ahead and blue surf from here to that geometry. And again, of course, we get our different types of control. Again, so this one has more than the previous one. So this has normal, and of course the bottom one would be parallel to section. And of course your control is designated by this little control point here. So the more it's actually pulled in and out. So if I want to go to the side view here, actually side view. And as I drag this, you notice it's actually changing the magnitude of the curve of my geometry just by using this control point. You can't put a dimension on there, but it does get controlled through the variable table. So you can jump into the variable table and actually anytime use this the blue surf and magnitude. You can just set that to whatever particular value you want. It's going to be created at that value. So there we go. So that should be set to 1. All right. So what I was going to do is actually create some text. And of course, the ability to create text on a geometry, if you want to wrap it or project it. If you want to wrap it, you would actually want to go ahead and use. Oops. Sorry, I didn't mean to undo that. To make a wrap sketch, the criteria is that the surface has to be tangent to the actual plane that you're working with. So I'm going to go ahead and create a sketch on that surface. And if you look under here, we actually have something called tangent to plane. All right, so as I grab my curve, we get this little kind of a coordinate system on here. And of course, I want my block in my reference plane to be in the lower corner, so I'll go ahead and say, you know what, let's make that 90. And there we go. So I'm looking straight at it now. So now I can create a sketch. So my tool has my text profile. So I'll just use, and let's make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Of course, we do have the ability to dimension and or keep this location. So if I want this centered on here, I do have that location. As soon as I do this, you'll see it kind of position itself. And of course, we can always put reference dimensions on here so we can put it in particular locations. And go ahead and straighten that out. There we go. All right, so now that that sketch is actually tangent to the surface, we can come over here and actually project that onto a surface or wrap. So this one, we're going to wrap it. So I'll say I want this surface and I want that sketch to be normal to it. All right, so let me look at the front view. Actually, so basically that will actually follow around and follow, so your text won't get larger as it goes around the outside. All right, so you have the functions of what they call the ability to create lofts using a normal surface, actually sweeps using a normal surface here to actually create that geometry with. So it'll be normal to the surface when you protrude it and or cut it away. All right. So again, under surfacing, if I want to project onto an object, that just allows me to just create a reference plane. So I can come over here and create a sketch quickly and project that straight onto an object. So I'll go ahead and do that next. So it doesn't matter where I start. It can be projected from the inside out or outside in. So do a quick ellipse here. And this one I'll go ahead and make sure I start centered. There we go. And of course, we'll quickly just take that and project onto that surface in that orientation. There we go. So that will change the shape of your projected object. So if it's not tangent, it will actually take it and stretch it to make it larger to map to the surface. All right, maybe one of the couple last things I want to show you, the new functionality is capping, using bounded edge to create your capped off geometry. Now we actually have the ability to either use a closed or open profile in our bounded geometry. All right, so that was a closed profile, so I can quickly create that as a single entity. If I have a sketch that is open, I can use bound. And you notice, without actually having to worry about that closed end being sealed off, it will actually go ahead and close that off for me now. So before, you'd always have to have a complete enclosed boundary to do that with, and that is new for ST6, whether it's open or closed. So you can toggle it. Obviously, you see it fails if I have it set to open. Of course, if I come over here and close it, it immediately just caps that guy off for me. All right. All right. So now that I have a flat surface to work with, I'm going to come over here and use something that is new to also at ST6. It's called redefining a surface. Redefining a surface. I can redefine surfaces in multitude of ways. Now you can see that every single edge condition, it actually made an edge condition for this particular piece of geometry. I want to go ahead and preview that. Go back into the profile. All right, so we can say the show surface visualization. Right now it's a flat piece of geometry. We can also come over here and say we want to merge as many surfaces as possible. So right now I have a full merge on. So sometimes when you start pulling and pushing on these and you start losing geometry, it will just basically disconnect from that loose geometry and still maintain the surface. So I'm going to go ahead and maintain that. Let's go back into it. And I'm going to create, there it is. There we go. So now I can create a plane normal to curve, or I can actually use it using my surface visualization. Right now I have it set to plane normal to curve. The face UAV is what I was looking for. So basically all those points in space are now control points that you can actually manipulate. So as you see, it actually places a sketch. I actually didn't go ahead and accept it. Apology. Dang it. Let me just do the single. I like plane over the curve. Let's grab a sketch through there. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Now that since this is ordered, basically it creates a sketch before this, so it creates a correct order history. Now I can dynamically edit that surface. And let it catch up. There it goes. So what I did is I just created an open profile. I did a closed bound with the new closed bound. I did a redefined surface. I added some sketch control points. Then I can come over here and again just modify these control points by just using the dynamic edit. So you can redefine any surface that you have, whether it came from solid edge or if it came from an outside source. And I believe that takes me up to about 20 minutes. Candace?
Yes, Dylan. There aren't any questions.
Okay.
If you'd like, you still have about 10 minutes if you want to show a little
Oh, is there?
more.
Okay, cool. All right, I wasn't sure. I thought I was. Only thought I had 20 minutes, but all right, cool, excellent. All right, so let's go ahead and since I have some more time, let's go ahead and create a solid out of this. So now that we have some geometry, surface geometry, of course, that doesn't necessarily show up in the assembly unless you toggle it. If you want this to be a solid geometry now at this point, this is a good time to do that. So let me go ahead and let's go ahead and get rid of some of this. I'm going to go ahead and make this really funky surface a solid. All right. There we go. So that's cleaned up enough. All right. So some other things that we actually have what they call a ruled edge that we can actually go into now and create extra corners. Before, we'd always have to create an extra geometry and kind of pull a sweep around here. But now that we actually have a ruled geometry, let's go ahead and make this something a little bit larger. And of course, we can. I'm trying to change it to. Excuse me. Here we go. There it goes. Oops. Trying to go ahead and round that around the outside edge, but it's starting to hang up here. So let me undo that. All right. So what I was talking about, actually taking this and thickening it. The typical process, and that is you can actually do a thicken, but I like actually doing an offset surface. So you can actually copy and offset a surface. If this surface had a feature cut in it, which is it's a nice little tool to be able to cut out, come over here and do a contour sketch. So I can actually attach geometry on the fly without having to go into a sketch to project onto it. I can create a closed profile on a surface. There we go. Then I come over here and say, you know what, let's go ahead and trim that away. So I want to trim the inside of that guy out. There we go. And now I'm going to go ahead and offset that, like I was talking about a second ago. But on this one, I'm going to say, hey, you know what, show internal boundaries, or go ahead and exclude internal boundaries. I'm going to say exclude these internal boundaries, and then leave those in there this time. There we go. All right, so now I have matching profiles. Now it's just a matter of actually going in and actually using Blue Surf again to take these edges and seal them up. There we go. And I can do the same thing around the outside perimeter. There we go. Get that last little section. And of course match to the exact same corner on this side. There we go. And that should be it. There we go. So that's when you get a completely enclosed geometry. All right, everything looks good there. All right, so now is the time you would actually heal and stitch this. So in the process of stitching this, you have an option right here to heal and stitch. And on this situation, when you draw kind of sloppily like I did, you may have some open gaps. I may not have closed the entire edges off. This stitch tolerance, if you just manipulate that to maybe dump it at 0.003, and when you grab your geometry, so if I did this correct, I should come up with a notice that, hey, this is going to become a solid body. Would you like to go ahead and make this a base feature of your geometry? I'm going to go ahead and accept it. And of course, it's going to change from that surface color into the solid color that I have. That doesn't mean that the sketch geometry and things like that aren't still viable. So if I come back and find that sketch that actually controls the indentation on the top of here, I can still take that. And it's a little slower because it's actually doing a lot more calculations on it now that I'm actually doing a dynamic edit. So it may not be as smooth as a transition as you do with the surfaces, but it will still go ahead and dynamically change and move to show you exactly what's going to end up before you have to take the commit and go ahead and change it. There we go. All right, so after you're all done on that, if you ever wanted to come and look and inspect your geometry to show the curvatures of your geometry, to see how tight and see how close, as you can see on this side, surfaces wrap across there fairly nicely. So we get nice continuity between the profiles using BlueSurf. Gives you the G2 style of continuity for your surfaces. All right, Candace.
All right, well, that's it for the day. There's still no questions I came across. I'd like to thank everybody for attending, and we'll see you next month for our next Solid Edge short. Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you, Candace.